Hey guys, so in this video I'm going to show you 4 or 5, I can't remember how many, CSS pseudo-element tricks. And 2 of these, more specifically, I've used in the last couple of days to get myself out of little sticky situations. And then I thought, well, actually, let's do a video on those because they're so helpful, especially when you're working with page builders and you don't have all the access to the structure. Sometimes you can't add an element in there that you need. In my case, it was an icon with a text element, and this is perfect. This is perfect territory for a pseudo element. So if you don't know what they are, essentially they are ways to create visual assets or visual visual assets. Yeah, that's the best thing. Yeah, you can create something visual or a visual element, but it's not actually in the DOM. It's not in your HTML structure, but quite wonderfully, it looks great, and it's something that you can even animate. So this is kind of how I got myself out of hot water the other day. It was in a breakdance site with the text link element, and yeah, I'm going to share this because it's really useful. It's very useful, especially if you are jumping into more code-based solutions like myself, doing Astro and Jamstack. It's good to know these things. So let's jump onto a little test page, and we'll run through the 4 or 5. Five CSS pseudo-element tricks, and number 5 is pretty blooming cool, and I haven't actually run through the demo yet. So let's get spectacular. Here we are. This is just a test page site thing, obviously. And what we have here is a button, or actually, it's ignore the hover link. It's not a button. It's a text link. Okay, so if we actually have a look at the item here, it is a tag A, which is what we want, but it looks like a button, and that's what should be the case. Now, next to it is this one. This is also a text link, and it's got this lovely little icon here, and if we hover, it does this little animation. Here's the thing. That little thing doesn't actually exist. It's not in the DOM. It's not in the structure. It's not anywhere. Yeah. I mean, if I was to build out a button component with an icon in it, it might well have an actual icon. Sometimes that's what people do. But yes, this is an icon, and you can't see it anywhere because it's not there, man. It's not there, dude. I see it. Anyway, so let's have a look. This is a pseudo element. Now, elements can have a before or an after pseudo element, and we're going to click on text link here and look at the magic. Okay, so this is the selector text link, and what we've got here is color white. Okay, so I'm just showing you that this is the element. We can do what we want with the color. And then we have this section here. This is where all of the magic happens. Okay, so and means text link. All right, so it means this element. We're nesting within the selector here. And then we have : after. I always think of intestines and stuff when I'm saying that, but anyway. And then we have after. So this is a pseudo after element. Now, a pseudo element has to have content, and if we actually slam something in there, you would see it appear. But you have to state it even if it's empty, and most often it's empty. Okay, so state content, and then we've got display inline block. So now we've got regular CSS. We've got width 0 and height 0. So you might be wondering, how the hell does that exist then? But actually, I'm just going to show you that if you were, of course we need a pixel value. You can make a shape by, well, not in this instance, apparently. But yes, you can play around with the dimensions of it all. And create shapes and everything. This one is really geniusly done, new word, to create a caret using a border top, border bottom, okay, and then a border left. And this is fantastic. Matches the current color. Take note of that one. That's a nice little trick. And then we've got the transition, transform to 0.2 seconds ease. Okay, and then we've got the hover, and notice here we've got the text link hover, so the hover for the text link, and then the after, and transform. We're just telling it there that how far we want to move it on hover. Okay, so 4 pixels is pretty good. Okay, but that's a pseudo element. Again, it's really fantastic. It doesn't actually exist, and yet it does, and it's brilliant. So to be honest, you can make this works really well. You could do this as well for within this element and create a little icon. You can give it content so that you can actually use an icon, so you're not just using this little caret. But yeah, this is what you need to sort of experiment with. But you can attach other bits to it using the content. So yeah, if you get to grips with this, you can get to grips with most of the other ways that you might use a pseudo element. It comes really handy in stuff like timelines. Early versions, you're doing a title and you're trying to create that little blob that stays on the line. And we're doing these little margin, left margin negatives to pull a round div into the. You don't need it. You just needed the heading and a pseudo element. But we'll show you that on the next one. Okay, cool. So that's how to do a text link pseudo element with an animated icon. All right, cool. Let's move on. Next, we've got. This is another one that I used just today. Was this a bullet list? Okay. Now, previous to pseudo elements or using pseudo elements, I might have made a little div and put an icon in there, and then a div with flex row icon, and then the actual text. And this happens to be with a pointer. You could link it if you wanted. But this is actually made completely. Try not to yawn then, sorry. I'm boring myself. This is a list, and then we have the list items, and look how lean this code is. All of the code for all of this, all of the animation is just in the list selector. Okay, so we have this selector here, my list, applied to this element. Okay, and then we have list, it's nested again, nested CSS, position relative, and we start giving all of the bits of details there. Okay, so you can play around with these and you'll become familiar with what's doing what. Obviously this gives us a little bit of space to move away from the pseudo element. Okay, and then margin bottom, just start to line it all up. The list before, so this is the pseudo element. Okay, content, state the content, position absolute, and then we want to pull that right to the left. Okay, top is 7. Let's just move it so you can see what happens. Okay, just typical CSS values. This one is using obviously the width and everything now. So if you wanted that to be bigger, let's put it to 18 and 18, or you can create your own little shape. You could, because it's fixed, you could make it a circle, of course you won't see the rotate then, but that looks pretty cool. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty funky. But yeah, return to how it is so you can see the rotate, and typical sort of CSS here, we've got the transition and we've got the transform there. Okay, so again, we've got the list, hover, and before. Now, just take a note of this. It's only targeting the semantic HTML. Okay, so it's, we've got the list. It's literally only targeting that. It's so neat. And if we look at the actual HTML as well, for all that animation and the visuals of it, it's so light. There's just nothing there. It's quite amazing. So that's how to use a pseudo element, a before pseudo element, for animated, awesome bullet lists. Fantastic. Okay, cool. Right, so this one, list section, heading section. I think I'm doing 4, not 5. Sorry, guys. Right, this is pretty cool. I've never actually used this, but I thought I'm going to do a video on this, and I went to AI and I was like, I want some awesome pseudo element ideas here. and this is pretty cool. Okay, so here we have a heading. Okay, and let's just have a look. This is this heading. Okay, we can see the content. We can be better developers. Okay, we can retain control over AI. Now we need to pay attention here. This control behind looks pretty funky, but it is the pseudo element. Okay, so it doesn't have to just be a shape. It can be an actual word. But let's look at how this is implemented. If I click on the header wrapper selector, okay, we've got. Just pay attention to that. Actually, it's not on the heading. It's on the heading wrapper. Okay, and we've got position relative 50 pixels. And text align and all of that stuff. Okay, so that's on the heading wrapper. That's this. You can play with values again in to understand what's happening. Or 10. Okay. So we need to make sure that the padding at least allows the pseudo element the room to breathe. Then we have and, which if you recall is the selector that we're on. Okay, in this case, what is it again? Header wrapper. Okay, so header wrapper H1. So the H1 in the header wrapper. So let's change the tag. Okay, obviously it stops the styles applying. Pulling this apart too much. Bit of back and forth. Okay. Position relative, font size 2 rem, Z index, blah 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 blah. Okay, cool. All right, so that's a little bit of styling. Really, you can style that on this directly if you wish. And then we get onto the actual pseudo element. So and header wrapper before grabs the text from the data text. Need to pay attention to that one. Okay, content attribute data text. I don't know if you've ever used CSS, attributes in your CSS, but it's so powerful. It's really, really cool. I've only just started doing it. Obviously, I've been on a real learning curve since October, and yeah, it's really powerful. And this is an instance where you're using it. Okay, so the content is this time we have content. I mean, we could. Type something in there. Hello. Okay, so we can just do the content there. Stay in control. Don't know, that's a bit too big. Boom. Yeah, a bit too big. Okay. Okay, so you can do that, but it's worth. I didn't put the quote on. There we go. It's worth us taking a moment to learn this. Okay. So my awesome list is beneath that one. Control. Look at that. We just put that in the HTML. Data text control. Okay. And look at that. It's the attribute data text. Okay, very simple to do, but yeah, very powerful. Anyway, then we've got the top and left being 50%, keeps it all in the center, and yeah, and translate and blah blah blah. Leave you to experiment with that one, but I just think that's really fantastic. Days of old, you might have added another bit of text into the structure and then position absolute, Z index it back, and all of that kind of stuff. But the problem is as well is that screen readers and things like that, it would read it. It's less likely to read a pseudo element. So yeah, very, very cool. Right, the next one. This is one that I haven't actually put into place. Okay, so you can, and actually I did. This is just for matter of doing it. But if you notice on the background here, I do have this set out as a pseudo element. Okay, so I have the figure with the image, and the figure has a pseudo after element, and that is responsible for my overlay. So I can remove the opacity there if I want. Okay, so you can use, and this is number 4, but I didn't mean it to be, you can use a pseudo element to create an overlay, and obviously that means, you know, it's much neater for your layout. Okay, so in this instance I've got the image and the figure, they are covering the entire section, and then the figure has an after pseudo element applied to it. Okay, very easy to do. I should provide all of these for you on a download, really, shouldn't I? Yeah, see the description. I'll try and sort that out. So that's how you do a background, but that's not the one that we're actually going to do. So if you notice here, if we look at the text, we see that there's, you know, I've played with the opacity, and the reason for that is not actually to apply the opacity to the text. Plan was to apply it just to the containing box. Okay, showcase inner, that's the one. Okay, so it was just like, oh, okay, you know, this container wanted to show the code coming through, but you see, even with the 0.9 opacity there, the problem is that when you apply it to a container, it applies it to the that which is inside it, and we don't want that. Okay, the way to get around that, and this is quite a big one, is to use the pseudo element. Okay, so we're going to splat some other code into here, and I hope it works first time, because I've not really done it. I have done this before, I just haven't done it today with this setup, and I want to leave that there. Does that have padding? It does. All right, I'll replace all of it. But this is as AI splat it out for me. And I'm going to apply this as well. Oh, we're getting there. We're getting there. Just patience. I should have done this before, really. Well, that hasn't done anything. It should have, though. There we are. There we go. Okay, so I've got two things going on there. One is there is this opacity. Okay, let's zero this out a little bit. 0. Ooh, we are going disco. 0. Okay, so that's what I wanted to achieve. So a dark one, but notice it's not applying to the actual text. All right, so again, this is a pseudo element. So we're applying that to the container itself. Okay, this is the normal container CSS. All right, clip the pseudo element to the border radius, just make sure that's done, but that's a typical overflow. Pseudo elements, often this is the bit where you have to make sure you're paying attention. A bit of Z index, or Z index for Americans, and anyone else that says Z. But yes, okay, this is the fun bit. The showcase inner, and now this just didn't apply when I had the it just didn't apply. Okay, so in this case, I've had to ensure that it's in place like that, and it's working as you would expect. Okay. Background, I've gotten that to a black, which I prefer, but then you can add little funky things as well, like this. What a cool effect that is. Let's ease that up a little bit. Now, obviously, think of having something like a beach background and the white version of this, so 255, 255, 255, and then, you know, some really, actually I might do that and mock that up as a little bit of a play, to be honest, because that would look quite nice. Might do that on my yoga site. I'm doing a full site build in Feud Studio, and actually that that would look lovely. But yes, anyway, the important part here is that we apply a pseudo element for that overlay, and in order to avoid dragging the opacity or other settings onto the contained elements. And as you can see, that is the solve that we need. So it totally beats doing something again that we would have worked around in the past, which is to take another div, put the opacity, put a color on there, play with the opacity on that, but then try and layer it and all of that, so that it's not contained or containing. You just get into a pickle and it seldom works. You just need the pseudo element. So again, okay, cool. People might not want this. If you want this, let me know in the comments, and I will add a link so that you can just download all of these. They're pretty cool and easy to do. So yeah, this is more of a practical one, to be honest, a practical video. Like I say, a couple of these are the ones that I had just used in my daily work in the last couple of the days, and lots that you can do. Let me know if you've had a bit of a play with them, and yeah, I'd like to know of any other tricks that you have, main ways that you use pseudo elements. Cool. All right. Like, subscribe, get in touch, share your thoughts and feelings about it all, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.